Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today we're reviewing for you Slime Rancher Plortable Edition on the Nintendo Switch. This review was originally written by me, which is nice, and so you can blame me for everything. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. Upon hearing the title of Slime Rancher Plortable Edition, you might be forgiven for imagining a dozy, snoozy farm simulator that bears a striking resemblance to Stardew Valley with some Dragon Quest slimes and a first-person perspective thrown in for good measure. If that's you, well, you're only half right. Or maybe a quarter right. Slime Rancher is a tricky game to pin into a single box. It's part Stardew, part Subnautica, and when you come across what few enemies there are, part Doom Eternal. Alright, we might be slightly overselling it with that last one there, as all the shooting is done to either feed things or lightly douse them in water, but we're standing by it. You play as Beatrix, a new rancher of slimes who has to make a go of this new vocation by selling nondescript consumable plorts that any and all slimes produce whenever they're fed. Simple enough in theory, but there's wrinkles upon wrinkles to contend with that make things far more interesting than such a simplified explanation suggests. For starters, all the slimes you'll be utilizing to make that cheese are out in the wild of the world, and what a world it is. At first, your explorations make it seem a little bit pokey, but as you progress, you'll soon come to realize that the entire landscape is simply massive, and the in-game map really doesn't do it justice. We're not talking Morrowind level large here, but be prepared to have your expectations thoroughly shattered, dear friend. The slimes you'll be running into as you explore the swathes of land on offer come in a veritable rainbow of variety. You've got your bog-standard pink slimes, cat-like tabby slimes, radioactive rad slimes, and the lovably docile puddle slimes, to name just a few. Each different slime has a different diet and a favorite food from within that diet. Tabby slimes are obligate carnivores, much to the ire of the local chickens springing out of holes in the ground like they're Tolkien-esque dwarves. Phosphor slimes need juicy fruit, and rock slimes need vegetables to fill their digestive system. As we suggested earlier, every time a slime eats something from its diet, it produces a unique plort relevant to its type. It's best not to think about what these actually might be, especially when we start talking about Largo slimes in a moment, but these plorts are meant to be collected and sold at the plort market, and the price for each type of plort is subject to fluctuations in a similar manner to the real-world stock market. We can't say for certain, but we swear the more of a type of a plort we sold, the less it was worth the next day. It may seem insignificant, but this brings in a new clever layer of strategy whereby hoarding plorts for a day when prices are good is more than just a good strategy, it's a way to the top. You can also increase your plort output by letting a slime eat the plort of another slime type. We told you not to think about it. This produces a Largo, which is in essence a bigger hybrid of two slime types, and produces both of its source types' plorts at once and widening their dietetic potential. This is fantastic news, of course, but it comes with a big honking bag of risk. Should a Largo eat another plort from a third type, its entire genetic structure comes tumbling down, turning the hapless creature into a tar slime. Tar slimes will eat just about anything, including other slimes, and more worryingly, you. A single tar slime can decimate an entire population, so the moment you catch even the slightest glimpse of one of these rainbow tyrants, you'd better squirt it with a small quantity of water. That's right, the greatest threat to your empire has the same weakness as the aliens from Signs. Tar slimes are irritating out in the world, but absolutely cataclysmic on your ranch, which thus far we've barely mentioned. Your ranch is your home and the ideal location to house slimes so as to better farm them for their valuable droppings, as well as grow food to feed them and storage silos to store many wonderful things. You can even automate various parts such as feeding and collecting plorts, which is a nice touch, although we'd be lying if we said we wouldn't appreciate some more variety of styles. You can expand into the neighboring areas in order to grow your slippery monopoly on the landscape, but just a little bit more customizability would have been welcome. Despite this, the main gameplay loop exists almost entirely outside of your ranch. I mean, yes, you'll need it to make mad stacks of cash to further expand and buy buy that jetpack you've always wanted, but the game is fairly flexible in how you approach it. When exploring, you'll find towering cliffs and platforms that seem purely aesthetic at first, but as you play more and more, you'll come to realize that these aren't boundaries, they're opportunities. Slime Rancher is absolutely littered with non-linear possibilities, to the point that otherwise necessary slime keys that you'd use to open doors can be rendered completely unnecessary through some clever platforming. The game knows it as well, and only ever tries to stop you in very specific circumstances, which is monumentally appreciated. The only drawback of this is the eventual backtracking involved. As you acquire newer and more exotic slimes, you'll have to cart them all the way back to your ranch by hand, and we can't deny that this is a bit of a drag. You do unlock some shortcuts and warp points here and there, but a lot of the time the game expects you to do an awful lot of hoofing, which became a little tedious for us, even with the outlandish speeds Beatrix can achieve while sprinting. Despite this, when actually playing the game, we found it hard to put down. That incremental amount of progress you make every few minutes, the thrill of discovering a new slime, the surprise at finding a new area tucked away somewhere you thought you'd explored to death, it's a gentle, cumulative thrill. But so many games ported to the Switch can come with a multitude of limitations or compromises. Pleasingly, Slime Rancher doesn't seem to be showing any major downgrades whatsoever. Its graphics have been stripped back for sure, but it runs really rather well, achieving a crisp and clear resolution in docked mode and fluctuating between 30 and 60 FPS a majority of the time, depending on what's being displayed. We'd usually prefer a stable, locked frame rate over a variable one, but Slime Rancher manages to keep its head above 30 most of the time as long as you're not in the moss blanket, so we feel that it was the right decision. Plortable play is also excellent. It's not as crisp as docked, but performance is on par, and the game's controls still feel fantastic, even with the tiny sticks of the Joy-Con. Technicals aside, it just looks good. I mean, colors are bright, everything's super easy to pass, and it's hard to not feel uplifted by the feel-good nature of it all. Slime Rancher Plortable Edition is a title that doesn't do this game justice. This isn't some stripped-back Nokia N-Gage version of a grand game. This is the real deal, and it's blinkin' marvelous. Farming slimes, exploring the world, getting frustrated at the price of crystal plorts never going up, it's a dense and wondrous experience. Having to travel so much on foot stops it from achieving extreme greatness, but it's not enough to stop us giving this a hearty recommendation. You've reached the end of the review, and it's Alex's offhand thoughts. Is that what I decided to call it? I genuinely can't remember. Usually when I review a game, there will be instances where I feel like I'm quote-unquote forced to play it because I need to do it for review and, you know, time frames and everything. There are times when I will need to play that game. And occasionally I'll just be like kind of not annoyed with the game, but I sort of feel like I want to take a break, but I can't really. I did not get that at all with Slime Rancher. Like, I had to stop myself playing it in order to actually get on with the review. I really just wanted to get back into it. And talking about it right now when recording the review, I want to get back into it. I want to keep playing it. It's got this really really engrossing cycle to it. More so than I think other games. I think the first-person perspective or the exploration and stuff like that really lends itself well to that. I don't know. And I love the freedom. Getting the jetpack and just like flying around over the cliffs and everything in the game's like, yeah, sure, crack on, do what you like. That's so rewarding. I really, really enjoy that kind of thing. And it's really nice for the developers to just hand the keys over to the player. There are some areas, like areas where you would expand your ranch, where you just flat out can't go. There's like an invisible wall. It's not invisible, but there's like a force field stopping you getting in there. But there are so many instances where you can just skip parts of the game, and the game's just like, yeah, go for it, whatever. If from watching this review and, you know, seeing the gameplay and stuff like that, you look like you might be interested in this game, I can pretty much guarantee you will be. It's a truly excellent experience. I am still annoyed about the amount of backtracking though. Like, all that hoofing it is a bit tedious, and it's ages before you unlock custom teleporters, but it's still a really good game. I cannot stress that enough. It's still a right ruddy bloody good game. It's a good.